Last week, we broke into the $50,000 market of sailboats, and we talked about the likes of the Hunter Legend series, which is like one of my favorite boats. Also, the most popular boat over 40 feet ever made, the Morgan Out Island 41. And we trashed on Gulfstar a little bit. And we looked at some Irwins, and we looked at a tidy example of an Oceanus 39. We ran out of time last week, though, so this week we're back at it, the $50,000 sailboat. Now, we set our expectations last week. If we're spending 50 grand, we need a few things to make sense in a boat before we do. The goal is something that we can long-term cruise on from, say, New York all the way to Grenada, if we so chose to do that. Something we can have dinghy davits on and solar panels if we want to, maybe a water maker, and a dedicated place for a couple of people to sleep comfortably, like an aft cabin. Also, room in the galley and the head, as well as a solid rig and a good sail plan to cover lots and lots of miles if that's what we want to do. We start out this week looking at a world cruising boat that has just about every option you could ever even ask for to go cruising, and for some folks, this boat is going to hit the nail right on the head. Although, she's not exactly a looker. This, my friends, is the mighty Cal 46. Cal made sailboats from the 1960s all the way to the 1980s in, you might have guessed it, California, hence the name Cal. So this example is actually sitting in Annapolis right now, which has definitely seen some miles and obviously at least 2 oceans, though from the look of it I suspect a bit more. Cal actually has a pretty cool story. This famous sailboat racer named George Griffith out of LA and a yacht club there, apparently he's a big deal. He designed an ultralight 40-foot offshore racer with the help of a famous designer by the name of Bill Lapworth. You may have heard of him. But George needed somebody actually to build the boat for him. It was a radical design with the sole purpose was going offshore and racing. So a builder would be like, why would I want to build that? Only like 3 people are going to want to buy it. So George took that design to someone he knew named Jack Jensen, the guy who had just founded Cal Yachts. Or at the time it was actually called Jensen Yachts, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Jack Jensen took a look at the design and he was interested, and he said, yeah, sure, I can build it for you, but I have one condition. You have to guarantee the sale of at least 10 of these boats to make it worth my while. I mean, the builder's got to make money, right? So George Griffith, being a famous sailboat racer, said, sure. He went to some of his yachty buddies, his racing buddies, showed them the design, explained the situation, and before the first boat was even finished, he had 10 of them sold. Anyway, the Cal 46, this boat is a cult classic, and to see one pop up for sale is actually kind of rare. This is a long, heavy, full keel, ultra long distance blue water cruiser, and for those tens of thousands of miles you'd use this boat for, they gave you a pilot house, which is kind of ideal. The pilot house gives you complete protection from the elements and great visibility all the way around, as well as sort of an upstairs living room to hang out in and to kind of vibe in with your friends. This boat is basically a good long distance hull with a massive diesel engine and a small house sort of built on top of it. I did say she wasn't a looker. Of course, on this boat, if it's going to be a long-term cruiser, you do get your davits and you get your solar panels to make your life easier. You get a very roomy interior that you can truly live in on the long term. You get a galley you can live with, a cabin up front for the guests, and out back you get a double aft cabin. 2 aft cabins. You also get 2 heads, and the aft head has its own independent shower stall. The Cal 46 is just a big, heavy, go anywhere, even if it takes you 10 years to get there kind of boat. And this one is completely equipped and ready to go. Now, this boat is obviously older, and it does, looking at the pictures, need a lot of TLC to sort of clean it up and make it a really nice boat. But for a lot of people who want a solid world cruising boat, you'd be really hard-pressed to find something more cruise-ready than this thing. And speaking of center cockpit long-distance cruisers, immediately after that one, we see a couple of Whitby 42s pop up. Now, these are Canadian-made boats with, again, the aft cabin, center cockpit, and a roomy meant to live in on the go sort of distance style to it. They will be a labor of love though, of course, given their age. But if a big roomy live on it year round kind of boat is what you want, center cockpit aft cabins are all the rage in this price point. There are hundreds of them. Our next boat, and this one I struggle with even looking at. I skipped over it last week for this reason. And it's not because I'm not interested in the boat. I'm actually very, very interested in this boat. The problem is the owner took 175 pictures, and about 99% of them look like this. Or this. Or this. There's 175 of these. Seriously. I honestly hate this ad, but I want to look at this boat so badly I'm going to try to muddle through it. This is a Beneteau First 405. And as you can see from the very happy expression on Doggo's face, it's a very nice boat to be in. In fact, here's exactly the same picture without Doggo. Seriously, these pictures are killing me. Okay, I'm struggling to find any good pictures of this ad. So here are some random pictures of the same model. So this is the Beneteau First Series, which is Beneteau's Go Fast version of their normal boats, the Legend to their Hunter, the Fiat to their Ferrari. But back to the actual owner's pictures. This First 405 is no slouch at 19,000 pounds with a PHRF rating of about 100. You get all the speed and pointing you could ever ask for in a boat with an interior that will not only be really enjoyable to be in, but an interior so nice people will actually compliment you on it, if not your photography skills. Seriously, I can't anymore with these pictures. Suffice it to say, the Beneteau First 405 is basically everything you could ever ask for in a boat at this price point if you want to do some medium to long distance cruising or even club racing. It's roomy, it's got a great interior, it's got an amazing sail plan, a great rig, sugar scoop, it's just everything is there. This one here even has a wind vane and a hydro generator. This might actually be my pick for 50 grand. Lady K Sailing is brought to you by patrons, people who give a couple of bucks an episode to make this whole channel possible. I want to give a huge shout out to this week's newest patron, James. James, thank you so very much for joining the team. Okay, if a more traditional boat is what you're after in the $50,000 price point, we do have you covered. And we see a lot of these sort of lower production run boats, like here, this gorgeous Bristol 39. Now this is made by Clint and Everett Pearson, after Pearson Yachts became Bristol Yachts, which is a whole other story if you watch the episode on Pearson or the episode on Bristol. So you know it's going to be extremely well made because Pearsons always are. The 39 is a traditional boat as traditional can be, with its classic Pearson or darn near Alberg design. It has big port lights aft with the smaller port lights forward, flat side decks, masthead sloop, and a long full keel. This is a design that has been replicated for decades by so many different makers, and for good reason. This design will always get you there. The only flaw I have found with this design, and I've been on a lot of sort of this boat, is the side decks start to rot. You really have to be looking for wet core and delamination in the side decks at the age of these boats. But if the owner took care of it and kept it well, it's one hell of a great boat. I think I may have saved the best one for last for you guys, because in the $50,000 price point, this one is rare. Not only is it so clean and so well maintained that you could eat off any surface in it, but even the sunbrella looks brand new. The wood is polished to a shine. The hull is cleaned and buffed. The dock lines are all even perfectly wrapped up on the dock so you don't have to trip over them and fall down on the way by. And even all the canvas and cushions are the right color. Catalina blue. Because this is our first in this series, Catalina. This is the Catalina 38, and this example is nothing short of pristine. A 1983 for $49,900. That stops at nothing short of being a shining example of what Catalinas can be. She's 16,000 pounds, sort of a medium cruiser, with the sporty side to club race with the best of them. These things win races. She's outfitted perfectly for weekending with a Dodger, a Bimini, canvas covers on everything that could possibly get dirty while she's sitting at the dock. She's got the adjustable backstay so you can point with the best of them. She's well equipped, self-tailors everywhere the eye can see, a beautiful interior, and every picture is very well staged to sell. This right here is how you sell a boat. Now I know this boat doesn't give us davits or an aft cabin, and it doesn't have solar panels, but if those things don't matter right now, someone needs to buy this boat. This is the type of owner who lines up the beer cans in the fridge so that every label is facing perfectly forward. And that's who you want to buy a boat from. And this is a Catalina. And we haven't seen one yet because Catalina cruising boats above the sort of Catalina 27, Catalina 30 area, anything above that is such an amazing, well thought out, well orchestrated long distance cruiser or racer cruiser. They're just good at everything. You cannot take anything away from Catalina. And the newer ones are some of the best boats on the market right now. The level of perfection and cleanliness here in this boat is nothing short of OCD. You even get a feathering prop that's as clean or maybe even cleaner than the perfect anodes that are bolted around it. For $49.9, this needs to sell. I hate that it's on the West Coast, but somebody should go offer this guy 40 grand sight unseen just to see what he says. I just want to take a second to congratulate everybody who just finished the Chicago to Mac or the Mackinac, whichever leg you did. The Mac race is going on, and there are so many people I know and so many amazing sailors on amazing boats that are just finishing up. I know a whole bunch of the first-in-class people, and just amazing job, guys. There was the 14-year-old girl who helped her dad sail to a first place. I think it was on a J boat, a J111. Just absolutely amazing example of what sailing is on the Great Lakes and what sailboat racing is and how it brings everybody together, and just an amazing thing. You guys should definitely check out any Chicago to Mac footage you can find on YouTube. Amazing stories, amazing boats, amazing people. That's it for this week, guys. If you like this channel, please consider becoming a patron. It makes the whole thing possible, and I'd love to keep making more of these episodes. So I will see you guys next time. Until then, keep the heavy side down.